Hey, I've got a box of goodies here from CH Guitars. Wow. I wonder what's in this little lot. Let's get going. Hello and welcome to another episode of my bass guitar rebuild. Now, it's quite exciting now. We're getting to the point where this guitar is starting to look like a guitar again. And now I've got some bits for this guitar. Getting really excited about this. So let's have a look what I've got. Now then, decided to go for black hardware with this bass guitar. And so I've got some Wilkinson tuners. Nice black Wilkinson tuners. I've got some black volume and tone whatever knobs. I've got this nice, oops, if I can get there, nice black bridge and black nut. Now I've already got black pickups, so I think I've got everything I need now. Now I've still got quite a bit to get done, so let's get going. First of all, I'm going to glue the truss rod in using some epoxy. I will just put some masking tape over the back or the bottom edge of it first of all. So what I'll do is cut a strip, I think. So I've just put some on each side of the channel there, not all the way along. I just want to hold this in place basically. I notice it bows up a bit there and I need just to press that down. These are the pickups that I'm going to use. I'm going to mount these two by the bridge, so I can adjust the positioning of those for the strings, and this one is going to be by the neck because I just like those sort of soft warm tones you get by the neck. Now what I need to do for these is make myself some templates so that I can route out the cavities. So I've marked the neck pickup out on this piece of plywood. I did film it. Well, I thought I'd filmed it, but I hadn't switched the camera on, so apologise for that. Anyway, I'm going to just use the Forstner bit to take out some of the material, then I'll probably saw the rest out. Now, in my experience, there's a couple of ways of making a template. One is the way I've just tried, which gives me a template, okay, but it's a bit rough and ready. The other way is to cut some pieces of wood and assemble a routing template so that you can route the template, if you get what I'm saying. So what I've done here, I've cut 2 blocks of wood, which are the width of the pickup, and so I've put those on either end. I've actually marked in pencil on this piece of wood the pickup, and what I'm going to do is glue that lot down there using some masking tape and super glue, and then I'll route the pickup cavity out into this piece of plywood, and that will be my template. I'm going to come back to routing the template a little bit later in the video, but now I was going to call it a problem, but let's call it an opportunity. Let me show you. This is the last piece of olive that I've got, and I was rather hoping that I would have enough to be able to cover the headstock with it. But unfortunately, unless I put it that way, which I think would look really silly, I haven't got enough to do that. However, what I do have is this end here, which sort of goes right up past the end of the headstock. And this end here, which I think will probably do the other side of the headstock if I fiddle it around a bit. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this up and cut this in 2 and stick it together, sort of a fake book match top, if you like. So the nut's there, so I need to go right up there if I can. Okay. Ooh, it's going to be really tight, this is. Let's go right to the edge and mark that there. Okay, now then on this side, again I'll take it right up past the nut. I'll go up as far as I can. I think that's going to be okay. So the question is, will those 2 bits fit together? Now then, I've been scribbling away on this wood and it wasn't really working. But I found this offcut and I'm just wondering whether I can do something interesting with this. I've sketched the headstock on the piece that's, well, the big piece that I've got. What I've done then is just put this piece in place, just there, like so, and I think it will just do the job. My plan is to cut a shape out of this cut-off piece here, this spare piece, and somehow create sort of a jigsaw piece, if you like, with this other piece here. I think it could look really interesting. Well, it sort of looks like a whale really, although that wasn't really my intention. Anyway, yeah, I think that's okay. I'm obviously going to have to smooth up these edges. Now I've been looking at this and I think I need to put some veneer in there because obviously I'm putting bits of wood together here and they obviously are not exactly fitting, but I think if I can use a bit of veneer in there I can get that to look pretty good. Given that I've used this dark veneer on the body, I think it's only right that I use it on this headstock as well. So I'm going to cut myself some thin slices of this. I rather like that edge there, it's quite dark. Okay, well I've ended up cutting a couple of pieces of veneer because I cut it too thin to start off with. I think I'm going to glue this in 2 passes. So I'm going to glue the top section in like that. Pull that really tight, get that really tight in. And get it in the right position. Because I sort of like the idea of running the this veneer round the end there and then back into the body of the headstock there. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to bend that very carefully and glue it round. So I think I better do it in sections. Okay, well I've got a couple of clamps pulling it tight. I think we just have to leave it now. I just love this time of the year. Those skies are absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. Now, I was going to bend this round and then feed it back in through there, but that's not a good idea. And the reason for that is I need to shape this. So I'm going to cut it off at that point there and then just put a bit in around the corner. That'll do. Right, so now I'm just going to glue this other section in. Okay, I'll just put that out of the way and leave that to cure. And in the meantime, I'll have a go at routing this template for the pickup. Obviously that doesn't go to the corners, but I think it's going to be okay. He said if I can get the tape off. Oh. That's coming off. Come on. Coming off. Yeah, that's probably a neater cavity there than I made by hand. Now I always expected to have to cut out a little bit of the length because obviously the router bit's going to round the corners and these need to be, well, more square, but that's a much better fit than the previous one I did. It was a bit too loose, didn't want too much of a gap, so I'm happy with that, and it'll give me a good starting point. I'll just have to chisel these corners out once I fit the thing, and also I need to work out a way of routing those bits as well, but I'm going to do that in a bit. Okay, so I've cut the top out for this headstock. Just want to mark where the truss rod needs to come through, and I'm just going to do it by by eye. Okay, I think I'm about ready to stick this on. The whole headstock now is a bit too thick, but I'm going to have to do some carving anyway and tidy this up, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think I'd like to get that stuck on. Yeah, looks good. Okay, I'm not going to use salt this time to try and keep these things lined up. I'm just going to use the clamps and just hope I can adjust it. Trying to avoid gluing in the truss rod. Sure enough, got glue heading down to the truss rod. Ah. Okay, I think we'll be all right. Well, that was 8 minutes of gluing, according to my camera. I didn't put you through the whole lot of that misery. Anyway, hopefully I haven't glued the truss rod in. So should be able to adjust it afterwards. Yeah, leave this to one side then. Now, to the other pickups. I need another template. So what I've done, I've stuck a piece of card down over the top of my plan and drawn in the string positions so I can see roughly where everything is. So we'll take the top strings further back, I think. I'll do it the other way. That way or that way. Not sure it really matters. I suppose if I want the base sharper and the top softer and moderately, that might be the good, yeah, nice raunchy base. Okay, let's work on that basis. So just need to make sure the strings are going to pass between those two magnets on the top there. That looks okay. So let's get that one marked up. And the other one, we'll butt right up against it and position that on the strings like so. Move that one out of the way. Do that one. Right, now then, how to go about routing that out? Well, look, I've opted to go for the same approach that I took for the other one. So I've found some offcuts. I've cut a couple of pieces to the length of the pickups, and the rest I can just slot around just to create a template that I can route to. Okay, I'll leave that on there to set a bit. I think I'm going to go and have a cup of tea and then come back and route that pickup cavity thing. Tell you what, I am quite taken by this method because it seems to produce pretty good results. There we go. Now I know it hasn't got the little rounded bits on the end, but I think I need to tackle those in a slightly different way. So what I've done, I've drawn these two shapes based on the template that I've just cut out. And I've dropped the pickups on there and I've sketched around the end, sort of round bits there, and measured them, and they are 12mm diameter. So what I'm going to do is drill a small hole in each of these slots. And basically before I route the channel, what I'll do is I'll drill a pilot hole into the body, and then I'll drill a 12mm hole on each end before I do the routing. As long as I make sure I line all my centre lines up, then those holes, the 12mm holes that I drill, will be in the right place on the body when I put the template on for the routing. That's the idea. Yeah, so this pickup's slightly different. So what I've done, I've drawn the circles using the pickup as the template just by turning it round, and I've got this template here, and I can see that they're 12mm diameter circles, so I'm just marking up the centres. It's just slightly offset from the edge of the pickup casing. Yeah, it's actually on the right line. Yeah, so now I have two sets of matching templates, but obviously before I try this on the body of the guitar, I'm going to try it on some scrap wood, see if it actually does work. Well, it's a new day and I've been thinking. So you've got this lovely top, nice headstock, and you flip it over, I've got this nice stripe running up through the middle, and oh, got nothing. Now then, I think I need a stripe running up the back of there. Now of course, what I should have done is created a laminated neck, but I'm not going to saw this neck in half. Do you reckon we can do a sort of faux lamination there? Put a strip up there? Yes, let's have a go. Now then, it just so happens that I have an offcut, and I suspect it's an offcut that I had from making this strip here, because it's the same width. So that might be useful. Now then, the problem I have is that it isn't quite long enough to go all the way from one end of the neck to the other. But if I look on the other side, I'm going to be putting a bolt through there. So this part here at least is going to be behind this part of the body. So I think that I can get away with putting a strip up there from that point onwards. And I'm just wondering whether I should actually sort of slightly narrow it towards the end there. I'm not absolutely convinced. I'm also not quite sure yet what to do here, whether to do something to make a volute there with this lighter wood. Okay, first things first, let's see what I can do with this strip. Okay, so let's take this a step at a time. First thing I need to do is to mark where that bolt's going to be from the other side. So if I can get this protractor on there, like so, just mark right across. And take those lines down, like so, and then join those two up there. Okay, so I know that is definitely behind the body, so I can come up this way a little bit more. So I think we'll run it from about there to about there. That looks okay. Let's put a mark there. And I'll mark it there. Now the question is, do I narrow it down towards this end of the neck? And you know what? I think I'm probably pushing my luck if I try and do that. I think I'm giving myself a bit of a difficult job anyway, so I think trying to narrow that down might be a problem. Although I really do want to do something for this volute. Let's go and have a look at the wood, see what I've got. Now there may be something in here that is interesting that we can use. Now that's pretty horrible to cut that. Not looking promising, to be honest with you. Again, I've got another piece of that olive there. Okay, let's try the other box. 15 years worth of offcuts. Let's see what we've got. Ah, okay, so we've got a bit of maple there and some nicely figured ash. Got another bit there. We've got some nice figuring in that one. Okay, we might have something there. I think I'm going to go with that piece there, see what I can do with it. So just get this lot put away. Okay, so let's see what we can do. Right, I've got the template for the headstock here, so I'll put that upside down on there. Back to front, I should say, not upside down. Just sketch round here. Mark the nut and the centre line. I'm going to cut this out. Okay. Well then, I've spent a little bit of time sketching out different shapes on this piece of paper, and unfortunately I didn't have the camera switched on. So I'm afraid you missed that, all that fun. But anyway, I've ended up with this sort of shape, which at the moment is obviously in 2D, but I've got to convert it into some sort of 3D shape. But I think it's going to give me a starting point to cut out a shape from this block. So that's what I'm going to do first of all. The block is a little bit too thick, so first of all I'm going to just thin it down to 20mm. Need to make myself a sanding block. Okay, so I need to do some measurements just to check all of this. Now the current thickness of the neck is 22mm. And the truss rod is sunk in about 11mm. So I've got the 22mm thickness there and the 11mm depth there. Now I want to go eventually to have this part of the neck being 18mm thick. So I've put a mark there, that line there, which means that I've got to sink the faux lamination, this piece of wood in here, in 8, well, oh gosh, is it 8? Yes, 8 millimeters, and that means that it'll finish up being 3 millimeters deep. Do you ever get the feeling you've bitten off more than you can chew? Okay, right. So this is the theory here. We've got this bar got to be inset into the neck by 7mm. Now then, I've drawn the shape of this block on the top here, and if I take that off a second, there it is. Now then, what I need to do, I think, is oops, if I can get this off, that's a good tight fit. This block has got to follow the angle of the headstock there, back down till it slots in at that point there. So what I'm going to have to do is cut this away so that I can then glue that into place there. And I'm going to have to, I think, just sink it in there a little bit so that when I shape it all, I'm going to have enough material to, well, to create a nice effect. That's the whole point of this. Whew, okay, so I think that might be the first job I need to do. Or do I need to route the channel? Oh, decisions. Okay, I've decided I'm going to route the channel first, and it needs to be 13mm wide. So I've got a couple of straight edged pieces of wood, and they are pretty straight, so I'm going to use those to make the template for the router. Okay, so the aim of the game here is I need to create a channel 7mm deep. I've put a marker there to tell me where to stop at that end, and I've put a block on this end to tell me where to stop here, and I'm using a pattern bit with a spindle on it, so hopefully I should be able to get that exactly as it should be. Let's mask up. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Slide that down to there. And I've got 7mm. You'll appreciate this is not the way you do a laminated neck. That's the way you do a laminated neck. But this guitar is, well, being made up as I go along. And, you know, I've already sawn the body in half twice. So, yeah, everything's worth a go with this guitar. All I need to do now is chisel this piece of wood out, he says. Okay. Okay, I've got this fitting pretty well. There's just one thing I need to do, and that is I'm going to put some veneer on this. So I've got it fitting pretty tight. I need to stick the veneer on, and I need to stick it round these edges as well. So it's going to be interesting. But I think I'm approaching the time when I need to start gluing. Cut it straight. So then I only need the veneer up to this point here, so I'm going to just mark it with a pencil. And I think what I need to do is stick the veneer on first and let that set, and then I might need to widen the channel just a little bit, just to cope with the thickness of the veneer, but not a lot. Now, somebody asked me, following on from my glue test last week, could I prise off the aluminium from the wood with the epoxy on it? So I thought, well, I'll have a go, and this is the result. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that I did actually rough up the back of this aluminium, and I should have done that on the front, so perhaps it wasn't a completely fair test with the other glues, but never mind. You can see that it's actually brought off some of the wood. So this one not so much, but this one here pretty much most of the wood. So the epoxy obviously does do a really good bond with the wood. Oh my goodness, this is a project that really does keep giving, doesn't it? Okay, well, it's all my fault. I just keep thinking of these ideas as I go along. And if you work on the premise that there's no such thing as failure, then all of this could be really good experience. Anyway, I'm going to leave you now, and well, we'll see what happens to those pieces of wood next week. In the meantime, stay safe. See you soon.